The U.S. says Russia now has 130,000 troops stationed along or near Ukraine's border. Countries in the region, as well as here in the U.S., are preparing for a potential invasion, and the U.S. is warning all Americans to leave Ukraine. Jason McMann is the head of the geopolitical risk analysis at Morning Consult. He's here to discuss the global opinion of this potential conflict. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
So first of all, President Biden has said he will not put American troops on the ground in Ukraine. If Russia invades, the U.S. response will most likely be sanctions, right? Where does the American public stand on that?
That is correct. It sounds like at this point in time, the most likely U.S. response would be sanctions. What we're seeing in a survey that we fielded among American voters this past week is that on average, voters do in fact prefer sanctions to deployment of U.S. troops, not just to Ukraine, but to Eastern Europe as well. And so in that regard, the idea that the government would move forward with sanctions does seem to be aligned with public opinion, at least prior to this weekend's developments.
How much do you think Iraq and Afghanistan, those wars, play into the lack of American support for an actual military solution?
It's hard to say definitively. It's not something that we have surveyed on recently, but my sense would be that at least when we think through the U.S. government's efforts to lay the logistical groundwork in places like Poland for an evacuation of American citizens from Ukraine if necessary, I think the government at least is trying to take some more preemptive action relative to what people might have seen in Afghanistan.
And I've asked this question from a couple of our guests. We've heard from people in the U.S., obviously. We've heard from people inside Ukraine. But what is the sentiment inside Russia? Is there any way to know that?
It's difficult to say. We tried carefully when surveying inside Russia itself. One of the things I can tell you is that when we look at the economy, people generally, and again, that's this past week, people generally continue to think that the Russian economy and that the country overall are both moving in the right direction. And so we find that to be interesting in the sense that people do seem at this point in time to be unfazed by the threat of sanctions targeting Russia if that were in fact to materialize.
That is such an important point. What about Europe more broadly? Is there some indication that France might seem to be an outlier here?
What we're seeing in general is that Europe on the whole, and there I'm thinking specifically about the United Kingdom, Germany, and France, all tend to be a bit of an outlier when it comes to various opinions regarding the conflict relative to the United States. And in that regard, in particular, one thing that we're seeing in the U.S., for example, would be that a majority of Americans who do have an opinion on the matter think that NATO, for example, should keep its door open potentially to Ukrainian membership, whereas Europeans tend to be a bit more split when it comes to something like that. And we see similar sentiment, or rather similar divide, when it comes to something like canceling Nord Stream 2. Americans just tend to be a bit more in favor of something like that than Germans, the British, and the French as well.
It is a really interesting angle to look at as we analyze this situation and hope for the best here. Jason McMann, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.